Hi everybody. So today is Saturday. I'm feeling a bit of sort of an 80s vibe coming on. I've cut my hair, highlighted it, bored. No, I'm not. I've got loads to do. So you're in my dining room today. There's my Christmas twigs. And what I thought I would do is I'm going to talk through these water-soluble oil paints. I love them. And the reason why I do like them is because you don't have to use terps, doesn't wreck your fingers or your nails, doesn't smell, and you can use them at home. Whereas if you're going to be using oil paints at home and you live in a small house or you've only got a small workspace or a studio, it's going to stink the living daylights out of it. And that's one of the reasons why Keith and I have never really taught oil painting down at the studios, because our back room is too small. We've only got that little one window that opens, and you'd all be passing out by the end of the session, and that wouldn't do, would it? And I don't know how I was introduced to these water-soluble oils. I don't know how I found them, but I did, and I really like them. Now, there is an argument to say, well, they're actually not a true representation of what oil paint is about. And yeah, I sort of get that, but I'm not Rembrandt, I'm not Vincent van Gogh, I'm just Bev from like Clitheroe, and it's fine. And the company that I tend to use the most of is Windsor and Newton, and they're called Artisan. There is another company out there called Cobra, this slightly bigger tube, and I would say these are a bit denser in texture than these, although there's not much to choose between them. I would say the Cobra brand, and I do get these from the art shop at Skipton. You can get them delivered, they do have them online, or you can go to the shop and do ask for 10% discount. I think they still do that, and I think they're offering 10% discount on their website as well. However, I think delivery is probably about £3 or £4, so you need to make it worth your while in order to pay for the delivery. I really like these because I can get my fingers stuck in and I don't have to worry about my nails, unlike Keith, who has lovely nails for a man. So he has to worry about his nails. So I've got loads of colours. I did find these at the range. There was only £1. They tend to vary in price from approximately £4 up to about maybe 5 or 6. Got purples, crimsons, umbers, different yellows. White, you tend to use a lot of, I would say quite a lot of white with these. I did get this really lovely rose colour for £1. The worst colour, I have to say, and I bought it because I always feel like I can't mix a really good sort of what I would call an old-fashioned olive green. And I know that we all teach you in the studios, like, you got to mix your own greens, and that's right and proper. But I did buy this olive green, and it's rubbish. I don't know what's up with it. It looks like I've used it a lot, and maybe I've just used it as a base, and I've probably added more yellow and blue to the mix. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple of tools that I will be using today. My little favourite palette knives. I like a flat-topped palette knife, and I like this round one. They're all really bendy. I think these are Windsor and Newton as well. You can tell they're really well used. I brought these back from the studios. I've had this one since I did my art degree, and they're quite supple. These, I think, like I said, these are about £3 or £4. You can, I don't know why I've brought that. I ain't going to be using it today. And these little brushes, they're not the best brushes in the world, but I do buy them from Tiger. You know, the little Tiger stores that have now started popping up. When I go to London to go and see Naomi, there's loads of these Tiger shops knocking about. There is now one in Preston in the Fishergate Centre, and you can buy like 4 or 5 of these brushes, and they're about £2. They're really good just because they're small and they're sort of quite thin and quite flat, they fit in my little portable bag, and they're really good for these oil paints. There's another couple of things that I always use with my water soluble oils is my water spray. That's in a perfume atomizer. And this is, believe it or not, water soluble linseed oil. And what that does, it helps to give your paints a bit of gloss, a bit of sheen, helps it to glide across the paper. You know me and all my products, I love just using materials and watching what it does. I like using stuff. So this stuff's really good. It's quite liquidy. I spilt it, can you tell? And I have to move this a little bit. This is, that big bottle is fast drying medium. So unlike with oil paints, traditional oil paints, they would take a couple of days to dry, or even, I don't know, sometimes Keith will say to me, it's been a week and they're still not dry. So that stuff, that stuff accelerates the drying time. I don't know what it does. It doesn't seem to crack or sort of do anything. It just accelerates it. What it does do, however, is when you mix it with the paint, mix it into the paint and use a palette knife, you get a really lovely glossy sort of sheen, and that seems to stay in place when you finish your painting. What I'm going to be doing today is, I don't know if I can turn the camera around. Can I turn the camera around? Hang on. Oh no, I can't turn the camera around, but I'm going to paint that. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to paint that anyway. I'm going to try that. Okay. I am going to edit this video, so there'll be things in that I'm going to cut out. But anyway, so I'll see you in a minute when I've switched my camera around. Okay. Okay, so we're here now. I'm going to put a couple of colours out on I've got just a polystyrene plate. So I'm going to use burnt umber. And they're just like acrylic paints in the sense that you just put a little bit out. Yeah. So I'm going to put that out. I'm going to put that's a cobalt blue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I use them, and then I'll do a painting. Sometimes it'll get a bit sticky, does the lids. And I tell you what I tend to do is I run them under the hot water tap just to release a little bit of that. What else do I need? Such a bit of purple. Trying to stick to the same sort of colour palette in a way. So if I use purples, blues, browns, and I'm going to use a white. And a bit like with sort of any paints, when you buy paints that are sort of coloured with a bit of white, and they just look sort of dead ordinary, they're called sort of like, not student quality, but just like sort of a medium quality. If you're buying paints and they've got silver on them, so you can see the packaging's a bit silvery, these are classed as more professional. I don't know why that is. There'll be a reason somewhere. Now there is an argument to say that these water soluble oil paints aren't a really true representation of oils, and they're probably not, but it's like we've said, I ain't Rembrandt. But what they do contain is pure pigment, and I think if you do a little bit of research on the old internet as to how and why these paints have come about, you'll find that they do contain the same sort of pigment. It's just that you can let them down, and when I say let them down, you can water them down. You can use them as a wash, you can use them thick in pasto, you can use them with a palette knife or a brush or your fingers, or you can stencil. I mean, most of you have seen my artwork in the studios anyway, and all of those artworks that I claim to be our oil paints I've used these water soluble oils, and I actually do love them. Right, so there's my little palette already. Yeah, so I've got an umber, a blue, a red and a white. So bit of water. And that's just to soften up just to put a little bit on my palette knife. I'm just going to show you sort of how you can scrape a little bit off and just pop it on. If you can see that, see it's really glossy. You can scrape it off and you can reapply it. So it has that really, they have a really lovely glide. They're really, really buttery, really nice to touch and nice to feel. Okay. So then what I would do is, if I was going to go in there and add some colour to that I've just done, I would use my kitchen roll and just wipe off the excess. Okay. So always have a bit of kitchen roll handy. Let's stick that there. Add a little bit of blue. So they're a bit like when we've used acrylic paints and when we say you can work over the top of colours. So if we've started off with a dark colour, there's no reason why you can't work over the top with a paint with a lighter colour, because you can, because the paint that we're using is quite thick. Okay, unlike watercolours, if you were to put a light colour on the top of a dark colour, you won't be able to see it, but you can with these because the product is a lot thicker and a lot more different. So you can see as I'm mixing the brown with the blue, it's the minute you add a bit of white to that, changes it completely. Scrape off, scrape back on, or apply. With the brown and the blue you get a really lovely grey, especially when you add the white. Looks really good. So I've just got a piece of white paper, got some water in my pot, so I've got my brush in. So I've wet my brush, and just to show you that you can use them quite fluid, I'm going to get that blue so you can see what it's doing. It's just pigment, that's all it is. And then you just paint merrily away. So they're almost like, I mean, I don't really want to say they're like watercolour paints, but actually it's just pigment and water. So in a way they are like watercolour paints. What they tend to do on paper is take forever to dry. I don't know why that is. It's probably because of the consistency of the paint. It doesn't dry like that, whereas when you use watercolour it's more of a powdered sort of base, I feel, and this must be mixed with some sort of substance to give it a bit of longevity. So you can go over a little bit thicker, wash your brush out, get a bit of the red. So this is like a crimson red. And as you can see, it goes on really nicely. Yeah. If I add some of that brown now, over the top of there, you can then use your water spray. You can see that it does push out the pigment. Okay, so you can use them with a brush, you can use them with a palette knife. Let's have a look at what that. So I've got a little bit of the red sort of colour on my knife. The colours are amazing. The colours are really so good. Yeah. And I know I'm making a bit of a mess, but I'm just showing you what you can and you can't do. So I've got a bit of a wet wipe here, just to clean off my palette knife. Okay, so you can use them with your fingers, so you can dip your finger in. And what you get is really lovely sort of smudgy lines or marks, not lines. Not doing lines at all, are we? So you can use your fingers. Doesn't hurt, doesn't sting. It's just colour. That's all it is, just colour. Okay, right. So I'm going to move on to the next bit now. Okay, so I think I'm set now. So this is my scene. It's taken from a photograph that I took at Blackpool on the beach. So I've got the sea, got the sky, got a lovely bit of a sunsetty, or the sun behind the clouds. Got a bit of a random seagull in there, probably won't put that in. And then we've got the pier over here. I've got my colours. So I've got like a pinky red, got a cobalt blue, an umber. So the blue and the umber together with the white are going to make a really nice grey colour. And I've got my white. I'm going to be using my fast drying medium. I don't think I'll use my linseed oil. I've got my water spray, got my brushes, and I've got my knife. And I might use an old credit card. Well, it's actually a business card. So I'm going to do that. So I'm doing it on a bit of a board, and I know you know that I like boards. I thought I'd prepped it, but it's soaked in so much. I usually use the waterproof MDF boards at the studios, but I don't have any here. So, and I much prefer to work on a really smooth surface as opposed to paper or a canvas, to be honest. And I'm just doing something really small. So let's see if we can see that. I think you can. The light's not great in here today. It's quite dull outside, and I've got the big light on in the dining room. So firstly, I'm going to use my big brush. So I'm going to wet my brush, and I'm just going to wet some of my background here, or my surface, should I say, just so that the paint will glide along a bit more and not just stick in great lumps. There's a bit more water. So I'm going to start adding a bit of blue. Okay. So I'm adding my blue. This is just to get some ground down or some surface area covered. Don't know how fast this is going to dry. I've never used this board before, but we'll see. It's soaking it up quite a lot, so I don't know how effective this is actually going to be, but we can try, can't we? Okay. It seems to be soaking in an awful lot around there, but let's see what happens. Okay, right, so that's that done. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my palette knife, and I really like this one. I love the fact that it's really bendy, quite shiny. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this sort of got a bit of a clouding dark sort of area up there. So I'm going to go in with some blue, and I'm going to put it on quite thick, well, medium thickness I would say. So not too thick, not too light, not too heavy handed. All the while using my palette knife and just smudging it out and playing around with it and spreading it. Okay, so as you're spreading it and you're playing about with it, it tends to dry quite quickly. There's a bit more of that dark over this area here, so I'm going to spread that about. And if you can watch what I'm doing with my palette knife, I'm moving it in circles, and this is how I tend to use a palette knife. Everybody uses a palette knife completely different. This way works for me, and it is art, it is, unfortunately, or art is. It's whatever works for you. Okay, so we've got that there. Now I'm going to add a bit of the umber with a touch of blue. Okay, so I've got that on there. So the darkest area is up here. So I'm going to add that. Doesn't matter that it's completely brown, it's fine. I'm going to go over it with some white afterwards anyway. Okay, so all I'm doing is applying paint to the background. I'm not being scared, I'm not being tentative, I'm not overthinking it. I'm looking at my whole picture and thinking, where are the dark areas, where are the light areas, where's the reflections, where's there any lines? Okay, so the whole time I'm assessing what I'm actually painting. Okay, so we've got that bit down, and already it's looking all right. It's looking like a sky. There's a bit of that dark over there, but not too much, so I'm going a bit more blue. I'm actually going to add a bit of pinky purple to that area, just to give it a bit of a different interest. So pushing down all the time. If you need to scrape off and reset your paint on your knife, then do that. That's fine too. Okay. So I'm going to add a little bit of pink up here. Won't be able to see it much, but it will sort of come through eventually. Okay. So we're sort of getting there for the time being. Right. I do it without thinking about it. I tend, when I'm painting with it, especially with the palette knife, I just tend to wipe it off, and then whatever's left is left. I think the secret, not the secret, because it's not a secret, I think I sort of feel like I embrace the happy accidents in a way. Okay, right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my sort of credit card, and I'm going to put this horizon line in down there. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to get some brown and some blue on my knife, and I'm going to tap, 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 tap on the end of my card. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to glide that along. So I'm just going to make a mark, nice straight line-ish, she says. And then I'm going to drag it down. So redraw the line that you've drawn with your credit card and pull it down. Redraw, pull it down, redraw, pull it down. Redraw, pull it down, redraw, pull it down. Okay, we're getting there, aren't we? So, yeah, in this corner here, I don't know whether that's straight or not, it's a bit darker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of the brown paint on my palette knife, and from my horizon line, I'm going to draw along and pull up from that line. Can you see what I'm doing? So I'm going to pull up, along and pull up. Yeah. I'm going to add that. It's quite dark, is this, actually. And now you can see that because I've already got some paint now on the background of this board, you can see it starting to take shape. I hope. She says. And all the time, just re-looking. I'm constantly looking at this and how the movement of the clouds looks like. It's, you know, how it's working, how it's moving around. Okay. Yeah, I think it's starting to resemble something anyway, at least. So I'm going to add a bit more of this horizon line in there because I just feel like it's not working quite as well over this side. Pull it down, push along, pull down, push along, pull down. Right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add more blue, but with the brown, and I'm going to put it in the sea at the bottom. So to do that, I'm going to get, can you see my palette? Let's get some brown, mix it over here, add some blue, mix it together. So we've got this nice grey, so I'm going to nick a touch of white to that. See what happens. So to mix it together, mix the colours, scrape away, place back down, scrape away, place back down. Add a touch more white, only a little bit, add it to the mix, mix together, scrape away. It's a bit brown, going to add a bit more blue, a bit more white, mix together. You're almost like buttering. Just think of it as you're buttering bread. It's quite satisfying, isn't it, buttering bread? Right, so I've got some of that colour on my knife. So with the edge of the knife, where I've got the colour, I'm just going to place it and push it down. Place it and pull down, place it and pull down. Okay? And I'm going to run all along with my knife. Starting to look a bit like sea, I feel, maybe. So then we've got this area here, which is a reflection from the sun. And I'm just going to be really brave. I've got some white on the end of my knife. I'm going to just drag. So pull along and drag. And then spread it out to the sides, just so that I know where that area of light is going to be. Okay, right now I feel like I need to get my fingers in. I feel like just by using my knife, there's some areas on there, like these areas here, I'm not getting any ground coverage. I really don't want to use a brush, it's not my favourite thing to use. So I'm going to get my fingers in. So by getting my fingers in, it means I can rub. And what I'm doing by doing that is I'm pushing the paint into the board surface. Okay, so I'm just pushing in and smoothing out, never going beyond that horizon line. Add a bit of blue. Yeah. Getting there with that. Okay, so now this bit here is sort of like a yellowy, sort of that area there. It's almost a bit of got a yellowy glow to it, so I might add a little bit of yellow, but not quite yet. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to work in some lights. Okay, so some of the cloud formation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of my fast dry medium to give it a bit of a sheen. So I'll get the lid off. What I tend to do with this is I'm just going to tip it in to a little space. You don't need a lot, it's really gloopy. It's a bit like syrup. Always put the lid on, then you don't knock it over like I did with the other stuff. Okay, so adding a bit of light up there. What I'm going to do is get some white, add it to this brown mixture, add a bit more blue. Yeah, then add a bit of this medium to that mix. Yeah, did you see what I did then? So I've added the medium to that mix. Mix it all together. So you've got a bit of a lighter blue. Pick up some of the brown from underneath. It's all on my palette now. Can you see? And I'm going to go in and add a bit of that lightness. Just going to smudge it around. Yeah. Re-establishing those areas. I'm going to add a bit of purple to that because I feel like I just want to zhuzh it up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to put some of this purple under here. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I think you can. Blending it into that dark lines that I put, but I'm taking some of that purple colour and I'm just bringing it over here. I mean, Keith and I talk about making sure that your paintings flow, and by that it means let's not do all that brown and do all that blue so that there's no connection. But by putting the purple there and then putting some of that purple up here, the whole of your painting feels connected. And I think that's really important in painting. It's about, you know, paintings have got to be connected and they've got to sort of work as a whole thing and not just separately. It's really hard to explain how to use a palette knife. I think a lot of it is instinct with me. Adding some bit more white just to those areas. We're getting there, aren't we? A little bit. So I feel like now I've got two separate things going on. I think I've got a reasonable sky and the sea's not looking great. So I'm going to put some of that purple with some of the blue. So mix it on that area, add a bit of this medium, fast dry, and add some purple. And I'm going to put some of these waves into the sea. The sea's actually quite a lot greyer, to be honest. Or a lot darker than that sky. There's a bit more blue in that sky, and I don't think I've actually quite managed to do that really. Okay. It's looking alright, I think. That's for sure. So I'm going to add a bit more brown to this top bit here. So I'm overlaying some of the purple that I put down with some brown just to cover it up a little bit. And I'm going to put some of that brown down here in this bottom corner because I feel like I've lost it around here a little bit. Right, so this bit here, I'm going to pull up with some light. When I say pull up, it's about registering that horizon line, and I'm just pulling up the colour that I've put on my palette. So put your colour down. And then paint along, pull up, paint along, pull up. I sort of think it's looking all right. You can never tell until it's actually finished. Is it looking okay? I actually quite like it. Now you might say, "Ooh, Beverley, you've not put that sun in," and I know I haven't. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my finger. So I'm not using complete white. So this light area here, I'm just gonna pop it in, and I'm just gonna run around with some light circles. Yeah, and then with the rest of my white left on my fingers, I'm just going to pop that in the C. Add a bit more white to that. Now this is where oil paints differ. Now if we were using acrylic paints here, then I would say, let's go make a coffee, and then we'll come back to the dry and you can work back into it. Whereas when you're using oils, it does take longer to dry. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna soften off that bottom area just a touch. And what I'm going to do again now is I'm going to get my credit card out and run it through the dark brown so that I've got plenty on the bottom of that, and I'm going to re-register that horizon line again, because it's difficult. If you lose it, it doesn't look quite the same. So I'm just going to drag down there. Going to drag down here because it's quite dark around there, and drag down here. Now there is a building over here. I think it's the end of the pier. So I'm not going to draw the building. I'm just going to hint that there might be some sort of building there. Okay, add a bit more brown, so I'm going to add some make it look like waves, I think. And with your knife, you're not just applying paint to your surface, you can actually pull paint off as well. You can apply paint like that, yeah, you can actually pull paint off, so you can scrape on and scrape off. That's what I love about a knife. I love these anyway. And then just soften, because I don't really like the hard edges very much. Okay, I'm going to wipe my knife. And I'm just around that area, just going to soften it out a little bit. Almost just giving a hint at a lighter area, as opposed to a big fat round sun. I'm going to add a little bit more of my fast drying medium to my palette to touch. And you can go straight in with this fast drying stuff. You don't have to add any colour, so I've just got some on the end of my knife. Pat it around and smooth it out. And place it over the top of the paint that you've already put down. It's already starting to dry. Now I feel that area still isn't light enough. I think it's purely and simply because there's plenty of colour underneath. Like I say, if this was acrylics, it would be dry and we'd be able to achieve that. But we've not got acrylics, we're using oils. Okay. Now at this point, I feel like I've put too much paint on that splodge. So what I'm going to do is get a bit of kitchen roll. I'm going to pop my kitchen roll on the top. Use my fingers lightly away. And I'm going to lift off, taking some of the colour with me. So when it's done, it's softened off that area. Clean my palette and soften. Okay. Add some of that light. It is quite light. Not sure I like it, but it's there and it's in the painting, so I feel like I have to put it in. And now it's just a case of settling, like we all do, overworking. Finish it, leave it, don't do any more. That's what we always shout, me and Keith. Stop it, don't do any more. Leave it alone, you're going to ruin it, and all that. We say it all the time, and yet when it comes to our stuff, I don't know. What are you thinking? I don't know that it looks like the picture, but it's my interpretation. I don't know that it's finished. I'm actually quite liking the colour. It's not how I intended it to look. I feel like this area here needs a bit more dark, so I'm just going to add a bit darker to that. I love this brown, it's my favourite thing. Right, so just going to re-establish that horizon line again, because it's got a bit messy. The only way to do a horizon line, in my eyes anyway. Right, I think I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, so what I will do is, can you see that gloss actually? That's a fast drying medium. That's what it does. And I would say, don't underestimate these paints, because I love using them. Absolutely love using them. I actually quite like that now. I don't know whether it's what I intended it to do or intended it to be like. I don't even know whether it actually looks like the picture that I've got in front of me, but it's my interpretation of it. And I think that's it. So, well, let me, right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let my painting dry, and I'll take some photographs of the painting that I was, well, the picture that I was looking at, the image from Blackpool, and I'll put the two side by side then, and you can see I've used slightly different colours. That doesn't matter, it is what it is. And if you notice, I used a limited palette, and I think that's my favourite way to do these sort of paintings. I'm not saying what I do is right. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just how I love to use those oil paints, and I hope that's helped. Okay, so have a go, and we'll see you soon. And I hope everybody's well. I hope you're all managing to keep safe. I hope you're all managing to keep up with your artwork, and I know that some of you are, and it's brilliant, and there's lots of groups going on and lots of stuff happening, and it's fabulous, and I do miss you all. I know Keith and I do miss you, but we are where we are. Have a lovely weekend, what's left of it, and I'll edit this video and I'll get back to you soon. All right, see you soon. Bye.